right, hope you are doing fantastic. So today we are going to be going over something pretty different, but it is something that I get asked about literally all of the time. So a lot of people, right, whether it is on coaching calls or just on teams that I'm running or just kind of through the grapevine, they ask me, how do I build high performing sales teams, right? Like how can you actually get reps to show up consistently at a very, very high level, okay? When we actually look at what most managers are doing, they're really only focused on the typical cliched sales skills stuff, okay? So they're focused on, the objection handling, of course, right? Like the closing techniques, right? All of that stuff, right? The very generalized things, but they completely ignore the foundation, right? And that is ultimately what determines how someone's going to show up, okay? So with that being said, you're about to watch me train a team where we 5x'd the profitability of the offer, right? So not just increase their revenue, because I actually focus on some shit that matters when I take over a team, okay? Like actual upfront cash collected percentage and overall profit margins, right? And basically how can we drive numbers without just spending more on ads, right? Because that is really like the amateur hour shit, okay? Now, these are all things that I have learned that truly drive results after obviously working with some pretty huge names in the space like Iman, William Brown, Ashton Hall, Brad Go, right? Just to name a few. So this is a piece of the puzzle of what actually happens behind the scenes when I am managing a sales team. Like I said, most managers are really just focusing 100% on sales skills, and then they wonder why their teams like burn out, right? And why there's churn rate and things like this, okay? But you have to understand that we need to develop every single sales rep as an entire person, right? Holistically. And that is why my teams consistently outperform. With that being said, that's enough of me talking. Let's crack on in and dive into this health training that I ran for the team. So we will be diving in here. We'll have the good old Figma board ready to go. So what do you think are the fundamentals to a revolutionary human being? All right, let's just fucking boop, boop, like let's click some out.
Health, mentality,
phenomenal diet.
Okay,
diet.
okay. A phenomenal diet.
Phenomenal diet, boys. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Sleep.
Sleep?
Yeah.
Yep.
Habits,
Yep.
Congruency.
Microscopic level of self-conscious.
Coffee.
Yeah. Of what? Of self what?
Self-conscious or self-awareness. Sorry, self-awareness.
You ain't making me write microscopic nothing.
Surrounded by other driven dudes.
Mm-hmm. We'll call that like environment and
Dopamine control, no porn.
oh yeah.
Having a purpose.
Okay. What's your purpose?
What's my purpose?
Yeah. Do you feel like it's a little gray right now? Like, okay, like there's maybe some things, but it's not like crystallized.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there's like a lot of things. It's like hard to say like one thing. Yeah.
Super common, right? And that really ties in heavily on kind of the theme of this training a little bit, right? So something like this, right? Something like something like this, like but honestly, pretty much all of it, to be fair. They're all things that we get told like continuously. Like there's so much fucking information out there. We're aware that all of these things are important to a high performing individual, but then we have to kind of have that reflection of how much of those things have we truly spent time to optimize, right? So the entire kind of premise, if we think of everything here and basically everything related to success, would really be this. Because without this, none of the other stuff's really going to happen anyway, right? Like you can't really have a good mentality if your health is fucked, right? Like you're not going to have good sleep if your health is fucked, right? And sleep's kind of a habit of health anyway. You're not going to have good habits if your health is fucked. You're not going to be congruent. It's all a big waterfall cascading effect, okay? So welcome to the Rick Fit health session. Now, as a commission, we're going to tap into this a little bit, but as a commission-based earner, especially, but also just in life, like everything's performance related. Like every single piece of money that comes into your bank account is directly correlated to your level of performance, right? And we often like it's obvious to say, but if we actually factor in like, okay, where are the areas where we could tweak even 1, 2, 3, 4% higher performance levels, and what's the likelihood that that brings in an extra 1, 2, 3, 10 deals a month? It becomes pretty high when we've kind of got this big congruent thing. I was about to give a spoiler of what the next thing is. So this is how to tap into unnatural levels of performance. We'll go through some of the things that I've personally done, gone through, and really like dialed in, and then we'll let Rick kind of go for it, because I think we'll have maybe some areas of crossover, but then also very different perspectives, because there is no like black and white, like this is what to do for your health, right? Like there is a balance of finding what works for you as well, and also kind of having seasons and knowing when to tap into certain things. And there's a lot of intricacies to it, but if you're not going down that rabbit hole at all, you're like willingly choosing mediocrity, okay? So does anyone know what this is called?
A cycle.
The cycle?
Feedback loop?
Is it like thoughts, feelings, actions, that loop, or is it
No, no.
different?
So I think someone said it, but
Flywheel.
yeah, flywheel. So yeah, flywheel. Okay. Now, if you look at anything that's actually related to success, it's all a flywheel. What we want to be doing is constantly optimizing and creating this flywheel effect. Okay. Because otherwise we stagnate. And in life, as everyone kind of knows, I hope, when you stagnate, you actually regress, right? Because the world is ever changing, right? Competition becomes harder. If you're stagnating, you're as good as kind of like digressing, okay? So if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? So every single one of you, we talk about this all the time through sales, right, is in a transformative vehicle, right? You can become unrecognizable within 3 to 6 months, but if you're still following the same habits, routines, health plan as 3 years ago, you are still fundamentally that individual. Okay, so if you're still taking the same fucking wank little cheap corner store fucking creatine from 5 years ago and nothing else in your health has changed, like you're still that person from 5 years ago, right? So if you haven't put much thought into your health outside of the total basics, like, oh, I should probably go to the gym and eat protein, then for you going through this training and what we're going through here, you'll be able to have like large percentage increases, right? Like newbie gains, right? Like someone who's never gone to the gym, they can just stack on a bunch of fucking muscle very quickly because their body is like, has no like threshold to it. But even as an elite, if you can get that consistent 1% increase, that's a fuck ton across an entire year. And that's how you want to be thinking, right? It's the pro athlete mentality. Now, I don't really need to preach that mentality on this, given that we're pretty aware that like the entire, industry that we're in is around pro athletes, but we should be having that mentality in all areas of life, right? And if we think about a 1% increase across an entire year, that's a shit ton, right? Imagine if every week consistently you add 1% to whatever weight you're lifting in the gym. By the end of the year, that's a massive increase on the weights that you're lifting, okay? That's actually the way that I do my strength training, by the way. Like the Kino Body, fucking 2 or 3 workouts a week, but every week I put more weights on. So in terms of health, what is your current flywheel that you are operating for consistent growth in your health performance, right? And if you don't have one, then it's time to change that, right? We've talked through this a little bit, but when you're a commission-based earner, you have to make that connection. You are a fucking pro athlete. Every tiny detail compounds, right? All the way from your camera setup when you jump on a Zoom call to how much energy you can consistently maintain across a day. You want to be looking for the fucking little tweaks in life, right? So there's a guy on a different offer who had a fucking wank little camera, but he's a good closer. And I told him, like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, buy a good camera, like a high quality camera. Maybe it's going to cost you £300, but like, then you basically never have to spend money on it ever again. And like, what do you think the likelihood is that you close at least one extra deal a month from it? And a deal is like, I think it's like a 9.8K offer, so it's $980 in commissions. So he's made an ROI from 1 month. But if we then take that 1 month and times it by 12 months, he's made like, fucking whatever, like 11K extra from a £300 investment. You got to be thinking of that stuff constantly. Like, where can I add on an extra percentage? Okay. So let's say right now you're making 5K in a month, and then you spend $300 extra that month on your health, right? And from that, again, right? Like, I want someone to shout out and tell me if you disagree with this. Does anyone here feel like it would be absurd to think that we could close an additional 1 or 2 sales if we are in a place where we've really optimized our health for that month? Or does everyone on this call feel like I am like the health fucking master? Every time I sit at my desk and dial, I'm levitating because I'm so dialed in with my health. Cool. So that's really the game. Like, that's the premise, right? That's what I want to be hitting on here, okay? So you could be going from that 5K a month to 6.5K a month, which is, a couple of sales less than. I want you to also think of that. What other kind of industry can you create that type of ROI? Like, there's very few, right? If you think of like a fucking doctor who's doing whatever, brain surgery, I'll give an extreme example, like his salary doesn't fucking massively increase. It doesn't increase every time he operates on someone. It just stays the same. There's no ROI within it, right? The biggest detriment of most sales reps is the reactive nature of their performance. We've talked about this a bunch, but that's a direct reflection of their whole life, right? They push a little bit harder to try and make more commission at the end of the month, compared to knowing that every extra dial, or every day that you take an extra call, or every time that you add an extra block on, hitting some follow-up, compounded every day across a whole month, that will create night and day differences to what you actually get in terms of results, okay? And whilst there are numerous perspectives, reframes, and also having a purpose, having a clear goal that you're working towards, which will light that fire for sure, if your energy levels are fucking cooked, then you're not really going to get to where you could get to, right? And I've been there, and it's the combination of two. I take my health very seriously, and we're going to get into this because I know what people are thinking on this team meeting, like, oh, that's weird, Scott. Like, you always talk about how you're getting no sleep and all of this shit. Like, I have fucking high quality sleep. I'm just in a season of not having that much duration of sleep so that I can just crank it out. But I guarantee that I get like 5 hours of sleep, and it's way better than most people's like 8 hours because of how I optimized it. Right. And then I've gone through my seasons of like getting the full 8 hours and catching up all my sleep debt and like putting in that work. Right. So like I still have a very, very serious health base that I tap into, but now I can just choose what season I'm in. I'm always going to be a high performer, and it's the combination of the health with the reframes of like, what's the other fucking option, right? Like someone has to have their shit together, someone has to step up, someone has to be a fucking man, someone has to be a leader, okay? It's the combination of the two. You can't have one without the other, because people swing the pendulum too far. You can be so health obsessed that you're just like this fucking schmuck that is like so like weird about everything, and you're like you can't even get your day started unless you've had like this absolute perfect morning with the perfect meditation with the perfect fucking everything. That's too far gone. It's actually mental masturbation. You feel like you're being this high performer, but you're actually just kind of lying to yourself. You're like, oh, well, I'm doing all these great things. I'm meditating, I'm visualizing, I'm fucking writing out my goals, I'm doing this. And it's like, okay, well, what's the actual level of work that you've done today? Right? So first things first, we'll go through, and this will be an escalating thing, okay? It will go from like very basic, because I actually realized, I think Michael was the realization point for me when he was like, oh, I'm drinking electrolytes. I was like, the fuck? You guys aren't drinking electrolytes? That's fucking crazy. So like, we'll go from like very basic to like more advanced and woo-woo and like weird and shit, okay? And stuff that I've like gone through. And then I'll try and bang through this because I want to hear Rick's perspective of it, because it's coming from a different industry and a lot more life experience around this and stuff as well. So we'll have different angles. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we're aligned on as well. So first things first, hydration, right? Most people don't hydrate properly. It's such a fucking fundamental basic, but most people don't, right? Pre-frame very quickly. Some of these things you will definitely have heard, and some of them you will definitely never have heard, right? I am going to try and give you everything you would need to have an unfair advantage in life and in sales. But if you just choose to sit here with a blank face and the information isn't actually going in and you're not actioning on it, you're choosing mediocrity. Okay, so this is how I do water, right? So if you actually use a TDS reader, which is basically like a reader that checks all of like the shit in your water, right? The only one that, like, there are other ones, you can get reverse osmosis, you can do things and stuff, but this is like the most sustainable, easy way to have like a zero TDS, right? So there's a company called Zero Water, you can search them. That brings it to literal zero. Now I want to be clear on that. Zero means it also strips kind of some of the good things. So we have to remineralize it. But it definitely strips all the bad shit as well. This is like such a simple one-time. It's just a filter that sits in your fridge, right? And if you've got like a Brita filter or some bullshit at home, I promise you, use a TDS reader and you'll see it's probably worse than fucking tap water. It's crazy. It's like really, really bad. Like those filters are just like marketing. They're total bullshit. So this right here is how I have my water. Now, what I personally do is I have like these, which is just like normal glass water. I buy like a bunch of glass water, because normal like natural spring water in a glass bottle obviously doesn't have microplastic and all that bullshit. Something like this will have a lot of the good electrolytes already naturally in it. And then I'll just fill it up with the zero water throughout the day, and I'll rehydrate it with electrolytes myself. So I have like one full bottle that's just the natural spring water, and then I'll use zero water in here and then rehydrate it with electrolytes, okay? This is something that you can look into here. Q-Life Hydrogen. I want to preface on here. Anything I go through, do your own fucking research, right? I don't want you guys like fucking telling me, oh my God, like I tried to sing and my hair fell out, right? It's like, hey, you chose to do that. But this is like hydrogen. If you look at us as a human, we consist pretty heavily of hydrogen. You can buy this here. It's a couple $100 or something, but it's one time. You'll never have to buy that again. And it will then like actually basically pump hydrogen into the water. It does so much for like your brain health and stuff. Like it will make you feel very sharp and clear, right? Only drink from a glass or metal bottle. I think you guys maybe have seen like that metal flask that I have as well, right? Sometimes I drink that on meetings. Obviously right now I'm drinking from a glass one. You also want it to be very large, like 1.5 liters, 2 liters. Why? Like super quick in the chat or just shout out, like why would we want like a very large bowl?
I'm just gonna drink more.
Yeah. You're gonna drink more, you're not gonna have to like you're all sat on a fucking desk working. It's just there, it's in front of you. If it's filled up, it's hydrate, like remineralized, you're just gonna drink the whole thing, right? Compared to like, oh, I got my little, I don't know, 500 milliliter bullshit. Right? Electrolytes, LMNT is a good one. Snake juice is quite hard to get. That was a really good one as well. But basically just look at the quantities in there. Right? I'm not gonna go too in depth on it, but just buy some electrolytes. It's the most simple thing that you can do. Right? Don't buy those little tablet ones either. They're kind of bullshit. Buy like a sachet. Okay? That's the beginning one, right? Like everything should start with hydration. That's like step one. Okay? So that's personally what I do on there. Now, next up is sleep. Like I said, I want to bang through this because this will, if you actually action this shit will fucking change how you perform. Trust me, I was like that guy that was eating bullshit food and I was always tired and I was always sluggish and now I get like 4 hours and I'm like wired. It's like 1 a.m. and I'm like fucking hungry to work, okay? So next is sleep, right? There's a running meme, like I said, about how I don't get any sleep, which is partly true, but that's a chosen season. Your sleep is the most important thing you need to optimize, okay? You've heard this advice thousands of times, but you still choose to not really execute it, right? This is the exact blueprint to quality sleep, right? Tian's all about this. Got the fucking, you know, like the proper blue light blockers where it's like totally like red tinted, nothing's coming in at all. Wear them at least 1 hour before sleeping. Mouth tape. I just use medical tape. It's super cheap. It's like fucking £3. Like I just use like medical tape. If you can ask anyone, like I was in Florida and like Lou, I slept in the same room as him and shit. And like he came back late one day. Obviously, I'm trying to prioritize my sleep. I went to bed like a good boy at early time. But he came in, I was like mummified, bro. Like fucking mask on, fucking earplugs in, mouth tape on, and I like apparently I like sat up like looking at him, but obviously I couldn't even see him because I got a fucking mask on. But anyway, so mouth tape, sleep mask. There's a sleep mask called Manta Pro. This is such a good sleep mask. Like it's so fucking good. And again, it's like you buy it once, it's done and dusted. Okay. These are the best earplugs that you will ever use in your life. They're called Mighty Plugs. They're made of natural beeswax. They're like blue. And then you basically rub them in your hands and they go like kind of soft and you can like push them and they like mold into your ear. So you kind of have them like, you know, like molding to the shape of your ear. You don't like push them deep in. You just like have it molded, right? Not only are they actually going to fucking stay in, which most earplugs don't, but they're just like they're all natural, so there's no bullshit that's like going into like all of this stuff, right? Just trust me, they're like the best ones that you can get. And if you really want a full send it, which is what I've done, if you're living somewhere permanently, just black out your windows, right? You can buy blackout tape, blackout like film tape, and then you can just buy like a big blackout sheet and you can just cut it to size and then fucking use the tape and just have it there. Also, if you're not that like DIY heavy like me, like I'm pretty shit at DIY, just get someone to do it for you, because otherwise there'll be like little cracks of light that come through and stuff. Like just pay someone fucking $50 and get it done or whatever. That will change, dude. When I first done that, my life fucking changed. I didn't realize how badly I had been sleeping up until this point. Like this literally changed everything. I felt like a newborn baby. And for the first like week I'd done this, I was sleeping like 11 hours at night. And I've never been able to sleep more than like 7 or 8. But it was actually just because there was all this light coming into my eyes and all this noise and all this bullshit. You don't realize how much sleep debt you've built up across your entire life. Right, so like do this, your sleep will fucking change, and you'll wake up reborn. Okay, there's also this is what I've been taking for the last couple of months. It's called like Power to Sleep PM. It's melatonin and it has a bunch of other stuff like L-theanine and all types of stuff in there. Again, anything I recommend, it's like the stuff I've personally done. Look into it. But if you know Chase Hughes, which is like that influence guy, the CIA dude, like Cole's fucking crazy about him and all that shit. He has done like so much research on melatonin, and obviously there is this talk of like you shouldn't use it too often because you become reliant on it and all those things, but he's very against that. He's like, dude, I've taken melatonin for like most of my life and like there is no adverse effects to it. Obviously, provided that you're okay with basically bringing melatonin with you everywhere you go. Okay? Any questions so far? Cool.
Yeah. All good. Amazing.
Cool. So now we will get into some magical herbs. These are just a few from like the massive program that this guy has made me. I can actually show you very quickly like what this looks like, right? This is like a 20 fucking 2 page like breakdown with all the different research of every single ingredient in here. You've got like a full time schedule on it, food list, supplement list, like all of these things you're optimizing for. It's a very, and this guy's devoted his whole life to like detoxing, and is also for like people will come to him when they have like terminal illnesses. People will bring their children to him when they have like autism and things, and he can literally like naturally, it takes time, but he can like naturally like heal them and stuff. So it's wild. Okay. Now, these are a few of the herbs on here, right? So this one, so easy, so simple, and such a fucking game changer. I would recommend all you guys do it. Again, look into all the health benefits of the ingredients on here. It's called Spring Dragon Longevity Tea. It's just a tea bag, right? There's nothing weird about this one, right? You don't have to put the tea bag up your ass or anything. You just drink it like a normal tea. This is such a good, like, look into all the ingredients in it. It's got goji berries, schisandra, like a bunch of Chinese, like, natural herbs. So fucking good for you. So much, like, longevity, but, like, based benefits in it. And I just have it every night. Just, like, an hour before bed, little mug of Spring Dragon Longevity Tea. Tastes pretty nice. Kind of like a little chamomile tea type thing. And it's actually so good for you. Here, if you go on Dragon Herbs, they have Tribulus and they have Tomcat, which is like a variant of Tongkat Ali, with a couple extra things in. These are more like testosterone-based supplements, right? When I started taking those, my natural T levels went up. Like my free testosterone went up, like actually quite noticeable amount. I always get my test levels checked. These were the pretty much some of the only natural supplements I've ever taken that I actually like noticed a shift, because I try and split test. Like I won't try and stack on like 50 different things because I won't know what was actually working. So I just took these and there was a noticeable increase. Okay. Something else that you can also do, this is just before bed. There's something called deer antler. If you look into it, it's if you get a proper like one of it, it's always going to be from New Zealand. Right, so you can see potent grade A New Zealand extract. It's deer antler, right? That you want to get the velvet pure version of it, and this is just a spray, right? Again, for these ones, I want you to look into the benefits of it. I don't want you to just to buy something like this. I want you to actually look at it yourself and see if this is something that ticks the boxes for you. With this, you just spray like a few times under your tongue and you hold it under your tongue before you go to bed, right? So many like health benefits to it, longevity benefits. Like my goal is to be, you know, when you just see someone and they're like fucking 60, but they look like 30. Like that's my goal. Right? I don't want to age any further than I am right now, right? And then the last final one, this one is a little more popularized, but it's so fucking good. Stem Regen, very not like I can show you guys right now. So it's these here. These are used by a lot of pro athletes. They've done a lot of like science within it. Like, you know, it's good. This one's very studied. This one isn't quite as like unique and underground and stuff. This one is a lot more like publicized. But essentially, like it's a natural supplement to be able to boost stem cells, because you can have like stem cell operation, right, where people like inject more into you, and they're like a new person after that. Like when you have like low stem cell reproduction, like that's when people are getting ill and all of these things. Whereas this is like a natural way, and they've done a lot of tests. Like obviously, it's not making your stem cells like regenerate at like the rate as if you were getting them, if you paid like thousands of dollars and got them injected and shit. But this will genuinely improve your life and performance. So we went very basic, and I've hammered through this, so it still took a decent amount of time. We went very basic right up to some like more advanced things and stuff. Again, if you're not even doing like any of these things, water and food, man, like it's like the fundamentals, and sleep, to be honest. Those like just focus on those, like really dial them in and really question, like, if I actually optimize the fuck out of my sleep right now, how much better of a performance in terms of the month am I going to have? And also, how much more are my relationships going to improve? Is my energy going to improve? My gym workouts going to improve? Like everything is a flywheel, like we discussed. Rick, 20 minutes almost on the dot.
Let's go. All right. This isn't pretty, boys, but yeah, I mean, first of all, you know, all that stuff for me, Whoop, Aura, the Apple Watch. First of all, it's, you know, EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. So the first thing I'll start off with that, you know, really good is stop sleeping with your phone in your room by your head. Get it out of your room. Turn off the Wi-Fi at night. All the EMFs, the dirty electricity really affects your physiology poorly, and it's a quick fix. So yeah, let me run through this quick as possible. So for me, everything's about goals, right? Health and productivity scale when it's tied to a defined outcome, right? So if you don't have a chosen destination, your behavior is random and your physiology is inconsistent. Obviously, Scott talked about the importance of physiology with psychology, the gut-brain barrier, and connecting the gut to the brain. Obviously, we'll talk about that here more. But literally everything you do, affects everything. So everything is tied together. As I stopped playing, I actually have gotten more obsessed with the nervous system. And I'll give you guys like some resources here after. Just generally because I'm a hard charger. And for me, I'm just a stimulants-based guy, right? So as I got more to the stimulants, you start to see some of the negative effects of that. So for me, the Zen state is that middle ground, like that little bit of stimulant, but also finding that calm space, right? So I think a lot of people, especially in, hard charging business spaces, sales space, you're consistently, reaching for the stimulants, but the most important thing is to get into the flow state is actually to be balanced, right? Because if you're too jittery, you're too nervous, you're never going to be able to get into a flow state and actually have good thoughts. And then obviously if you're too down and you're not hyped up, in a sense, you're never going to be able to, reach your pinnacle as a man. So for me, the base drivers are energy control, dopamine control, time control, body composition control, and environment control. The goal, you've probably all heard this, discipline is greater than motivation. You can be motivated today on our talk, but if you don't execute what we do, you're never going to see results. So the number one thing of all that is you got to create yourself a routine. And the biggest thing I see with players, and especially, I've been obsessed with the health space for 15 years because I'm not genetically gifted. I got to the pro level because I was obsessed with, optimization. And if I had better mentors, I would have, stayed at the, pro level longer. And that's exactly why we do what we do. So a lot of things are all over the internet. You got to just take some things, as Scott was saying, test things out, see what works for you, and start, implementing it into your life slowly. Take things with a grain of salt, as he said, test it out, see how your body feels. For example, for me, everyone's all up on these ice baths. I don't like ice baths. They make me more jittery. What I would rather is I like sauna, and then I just like cold shower after. If you push yourself to stay in the ice bath too long, depending on your nervous system, where it's at that day, it can have negative effects, right? So that's why you got to test things. For me, I like sauna, I like warm better than hot. So yeah, coral marrow drivers. Why do we do what we do? We want to earn more money, we want to fuck more, we want to become physically dominant, and we want to build optionality and freedom. Your battlefield is your brain and your body, right? If you don't optimize that, you're going to throw away the greatest advantage any generation of man has ever had. So everything's got to start with gratitude. As a salesperson, I've heard a lot of, I think it was that guy that Scott was talking about, his mentorship from when I was listening to Closer.io. He was talking about how sales guys got to treat your body like a pro athlete. And that's when I was just getting into the high ticket space. And I really realized that because if you don't, you're going to burn out and you're not going to get results. I'm big on circadian rhythm. Obviously, your goal, right? Also, sometimes I slip up here and sometimes I'm not the best at it, but as consistently as possible, I try to go to sleep and wake up at the same time every single day because your body obviously runs on an internal clock. The more your body is in routine, you wake up at the same time, you shit at the same time, you eat at the same time, you train at the same time, your body's in sync and it's in rhythm. And that's going to be that's when your physiology gets in line with your psychology. And that's where you want to be at, right? From there, you got to pick a target. Wherever you're at right now, what do you want? You want to lose fat, you want to gain muscle, you want to improve your performance, longevity, recovery, cognitive output. So yeah, obviously goal-based fueling. You guys probably know this stuff. I'll send you guys a sheet afterwards as well. Obviously nutrition, Scott touched on that. You got to get all this stuff right before adding the additional supplements and all that stuff. You got to use the free stuff, right? The sun, the sleep, all the stuff that you can do for free before investing in other stuff. Once you got those bare basics, then I believe you could start to invest in the other stuff. And that's the biggest thing I believe that's a problem with today's environment is like you got all this cryotherapy. Obviously, with footballers, you got compression boots, but they don't take care of the most important basics, right? So none of that stuff matters if you don't have your nutrition down, your hydration down, and your sleep down. And then obviously, the more stress you are, the more of a sympathetic state you're going to be in, and that's the nervous system, right? Nervous system has two branches: parasympathetic state, sympathetic state. Your goal, as much as possible, is to be in a parasympathetic state because that's what's when you're going to operate at your highest. When you're in a sympathetic state, your fight or flight, and your cortisol is going, adrenaline's going, and that's going to lead to all these things that we've been talking about. I would stay away from alcohol. Like maybe go on vacation, glass of wine here and there, fine. As much as possible, stay away. It's absolute poison. Talked about all this. Obviously, if you have bloating, if you have cravings, if you're also that's one thing I actually didn't add in here. Your morning shits, right? If your morning shits are not looking good, you got skin issues, poor sleep, anxiety spikes, that might be your gut, right? So that's when you can dive into that. Yeah, then obviously pillars of training, obviously, 3 to 5 sessions per week, lift fucking heavy and grunt like a madman. Train with someone else who's going to push you to lift heavier if you can. Zone 2 cardio, at least try to get 2 sessions a week. Some sprinting, 1 to 2 sessions a week. Mobility, at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. 8 to 12K steps a day if you can. Obviously, some of you guys, if you could manage that ability, especially as a setter, to do some calls outside, if you can manage that workflow, I think it could be really solid. That's obviously on your guys' end, but could be something to experiment with. Then I think this is massive. Like if you have the time, some kind of fighting and martial arts, it's going to boost your testosterone. And as I said, it's going to give you that extreme self-confidence. And obviously you're going to hang around other driven men, and it's going to give you that aggression, confidence, testosterone, and, ability to deal with a threat. Scott talked about the supplements, some other herbs I like. I love lion's mane for focus. L-theanine's excellent, for calm. If you drink a lot of caffeine, or even if, you have caffeine after, let's say 1 p.m., a little bit of L-theanine can help, slow the release of the caffeine in the system, which can, help you for your sleep at night. Before sleep, glycine, taurine, GABA, as well as magnesium. Berberine's excellent for the blood sugar regulation if you have problems with that, for fat loss. NAC and then alpha GPC is excellent for cognition. Hormonal health, Tungat Ali, it's optional. Boron and zinc are excellent for test. Recovery and nervous system regulation. Obviously, as Scott was saying, eliminate plastic food containers, filter your water, seed oil. This is also massive. Stop the cologne. If you put cologne on, I hardly do it. Maybe once a month, I just put it on my clothes. But if you put it on your which I used to do on your wrist, you rub it on, all that stuff, it's transdermal. So all that stuff goes straight into your bloodstream, and the fragrances, all that stuff in there is awful. Try to wear cotton clothing and boxers as much as possible. I just threw away all my polyester boxers. Try to buy as much cotton as possible. All that stuff is also really bad for test. And then one more thing to add is obviously try to find a deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it, and then also toothpaste. Try to stay away from fluoride because that can also disrupt hormones. And then I kind of gave some resources. If you guys want to just get on a simple training plan, I could send that over. Mobility, I got a daily mobility thing you can start doing every day. Nutrition, nervous system regulation, meditation, some fascial work. And then all the supplements. I mean, the best thing you could do for the supplements is if, you can afford it. As Scott said, as I said, it's the best investment. Get yourself a really good blood panel. I mean, they're anywhere from $350 to $700 in the US, and then you'll be able to have much more targeted, like supplements and, how actually you want to, eat and take your stuff. But I think the most important thing from all that is there's so much shit you can do. Just it's the same thing with business. Find what's the greatest limiting factor for you and tackle that first.
Dude, I was making fucking notes. I love this shit. There's so many things we can hit on here. Did anyone have any questions while we're on the topic? Because like this was a fucking masterclass, and there's so many things that we can go. There's a lot of things that like I didn't even tap into because fucking can't fit it all into one meeting. So like exactly what Rick said, like, and I wrote it in the chat, like I use like it's like a boar bristle toothbrush. There's no microplastics with it. I use it's like an aloe vera toothpaste without fluoride and shit. It's a company called Wild. It's in the UK and shit. It has like natural no aluminium deodorant as well. So there's infinite things you can do. And obviously, like what we said, it's about building a base, especially to begin with, is like building that foundation, right? Getting like the fundamentals in line. Because if you improve just your sleep, water, and food, fuck, like your life will literally completely transform just from those things alone. Obviously, then you can start stacking on certain supplements and then just look towards like micro optimizers after that point. Like, don't use fucking Teflon, you know, non-stick pans and all of this bullshit. It's like, imagine every time you cook with that pan, it's like slowly seeping into your food every fucking time. Even the cologne stuff, right? Like super simple. We don't even think about it, but like, that's why I showed you the glutathione thing. Like you saw, like the advice from Gary Brecker is like, put it on your wrists and rub it in. So this is an infinite rabbit hole that you can go down. And this was a fucking masterclass. I think Rick said he's going to send that document. So genuinely, like start to like slowly but surely, but implement these things and have that foundation, because like it will just alter so much, right? Like because now like I optimize a lot of things, and I have a good base where if I have a couple days of like genuine like bad sleep or I'm traveling or all those things, I've got such like a good foundational setup that like I'm never low energy because I've taken care of my gut, right? I'm optimized in good ways. Whereas most people, like, you know, they get fucking jet lag and they're like wiped out for like the next 3 days. And it's because of everything, like nothing's dialed in their life. Couple of like feedback points or anything like that. Like what was the takeaway from this for you guys, and how did we feel about a training like this?
Insane. Yeah, really insane. Something I feel like I needed just to really get to that next level. Like Rick said, like the best investment you can make is into your personal health. So like it just opened my eyes to like new things. So really thankful for that training, guys.
Fuck yeah. We've all seen.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
the worst thing that I've seen is like when you get too health obsessed, then it becomes anxious, right?
Yeah.
If you do something, you get anxious about that, and then that's the cycle. Nervous system, boom, cortisol goes up, heart rate goes up. You just were protecting that. And like just go out and like fucking reward yourself once in a while. Go enjoy it. You know, being too much is too much, right? And I always tell that to the players, which is so interesting about like South American players, African players, Brazilians. They're so like their nervous system is so calm on the ball and on the pitch because like they're not overly stressed about like everything they do, right? So like, you know, finding those other hobbies, right? Dance, martial arts, just like being able to express yourself, I think is massive.
If you're not doing these things, get the foundation in place, right? But don't go swing the pendulum so far in the other way where you become like an extremist on it as well, because we've been there and it doesn't really benefit you either. We can do more of these across time because it is an infinite rabbit hole, but I think this will give you, again, action on it, right? Like this will give you such a fucking heavy amount of foundational things you can put in place. Cool. So that is the full breakdown of how I ran a health training with my team. Hopefully you enjoyed it, okay? Now, to be clear, this isn't just some one-off thing, right? This is basically part of the culture, right? And it is ultimately how you show up as a leader consistently, okay? It's like very, very important that we are building them from all areas, right? You can't just run like one random team training that's around health and then think that your team is going to suddenly start performing at a higher level, right? It's just realistically not going to happen. It is the consistent reinforcement, right? It's the accountability systems that you build into the daily operations, right? So it's a full build out. It's a full thing of like incrementally putting this in place, right? And that is what separates teams that scale, right, sustainably, right? We're getting like growth on growth every month compared to teams that have a high churn rate and they just kind of burn away after 6 months or so, right? So if you're sat here thinking like, man, I should probably do this with my team as well, you can absolutely implement this yourself. The thing is, like I've said a couple of times, this is just a small piece of the puzzle, right? A small piece that maximizes your sales team's performance, right? There is also, if I kind of do like a deliverable list, right? The daily accountability, the pipeline management, right? Squeezing old leads, the call reviews, the one-on-ones, right? The hiring process itself, so key. The onboarding, dealing with underperformers, right? Building out the culture, tracking all of the KPIs, making sure the leads are actually being followed up with, because there's a stigma of like, hey, like I don't need to follow up with people, which is bullshit. It's a lot of things. And then what I've found, especially if I take over a team that's maybe doing 100 100K, 200K or so, both business owners kind of think they're going to be able to carve out the time to do all of that on top of everything else that they're doing. But that just doesn't happen, right? And I know this because after running multiple 7-figure teams and just getting consistent, predictable results basically every single time, I know exactly what works. I know how to actually build the systems, how to hold the accountability, and actually get this stuff to stick, basically, right? Without you having to become an expert in all different areas, okay? With that being said, essentially, that's like the high level overview, right? This is just a little piece of what I do alongside all of the other things that I just listed and more. So if you are looking for something like this for your team and someone to come in, build the team, run your sales team, build it from the ground up, you can just shoot me a DM, right? There's no funnels, there's no craziness here. And then we can just have a bit of a back and forth and I'll be able to share a bit more details on how it would typically work and if it would make sense. My Instagram is in the description. Other than that, I appreciate you watching. Peace and love. I will catch you very soon.